All right, hey everybody, welcome. Thanks for coming tonight. There's a lot of buzz around AI, so I appreciate you coming. I got a chance to meet with a couple of you, well, I think almost all of you now, as far as what your interest level is in AI. We've got quite a variety here today, right? We've got some brand new beginners who are like, I've never touched it. We have some people who are like, I've been using it for 2 years. So I'm going to try to appeal to everybody's level of interest, which is going to be a little bit of a challenge, but I'm up for the challenge. And you can use it at home and at work, and I'm going to try to address that too. The QR code in the top right corner, and it will be floating around the screen. The QR code is to just text me or to scan in and say, hey, shoot me a question, right? Anything you have that comes up, like we might be talking about. We've got a great example here of a friend who was inputting a lot of data into a knowledge base on what to do once I have a baby. It wasn't her, but she had a friend who was doing this, right? And so it was like, how do you build a knowledge base that then you can ask questions and make that knowledge base your personal coach? So you're like, I don't know what to do when the baby's crying, or I don't know what to do when the baby's eating, and parents aren't around, and I don't have to, like what you used to Google that, but now you can say, hey, I want to go to these 5 books and find the resource very, very quickly. Because I'm brain dead, I haven't slept in 4 days, and I need some help, right? So we're going to go over a lot of that stuff. I might give an example like that. And you might be like, ooh, that reminds me of somebody at work, right? Or that reminds me of me. I'm sleep deprived at work, and I have no idea. I need a knowledge base on how to get this information to me, and how do I build a knowledge base? How do I get AI to speak to my voice, etc. So I forgot to mention that my name is Rick Jansen. Historically, I've been an attorney. I have an MBA in marketing. Won all sorts of awards. I've been a coach. I've been in magazines and all that other stuff. But here at the Clayton, I just want to be your AI resource, right? 45 realtors, don't worry about that. I'm just the AI guy, right? I usually sit in the sunroom. I'm out in front. I'm trying to be as outside as possible while being inside. So I'm either right up against the glass or I'm plugging an outlet somewhere with my laptop. But if you see me here and you're just like, hey, I had a question about AI, if I'm like not actively in a conversation or on the phone, just sit down and talk, right? I'll give you time. We can just brainstorm something. I can hop on, you can hop on my laptop. I'll show you how to do something. Let's troubleshoot. Let's brainstorm. Because I started off as an AI enablement coach helping realtors, and it was how do you do more effective social media? How do you do better YouTube videos? How do you overcome the blank slate syndrome of I'm supposed to do 2 videos a week on what? And then, oh yeah, I'm supposed to talk about Littleton versus Lakewood. What am I supposed to say? Oh yeah, the cost of milk and the cost of gasoline. What are those, right? And so you start, when you're trying to create organic marketing, whether you're a realtor, whether you're in sales, whether you're starting a new business, if you're in a beer company, like whatever that might be, creating organic content that engages your audience is really, really challenging. And that blank slate syndrome is what AI can help you with. But the future of business, the future of actually even your home, is AI. And there are 3 reactions you can have to that. One is you can put your head in the sand and pretend it's not happening. Just be like, I'll just die my way out of this. And the world can evolve around me, and I don't want to be involved. The second way is to get really, really scared and say, robots are taking over! This is Terminator! And it's going to be scary, right? Like, robots are going to take my job. Robots are going to take my life. Robots are going to take over everything. But one of the things I've realized, and all the consultants now are talking about, is AI is not going to take your job. Does anybody have that fear that AI is going to take your job? Good. But the person using AI will. 100%. So we do need to be prepared for that. So the people that are in tune with AI, the people who are learning AI, the people who are trying to figure out how to evolve with AI, are going to stay in business. This is a little, I'm going to go over one little part of this. That black olive portion there, the black is people that are just like, talking about it. The people in green are doing it. The people in red are applying it. And the little blue dot are people who are actually making money from AI. So even when you hear the buzz at cocktail parties or at a bar or whatever, it used to be everybody's talking about real estate. But with interest rates at 7%, nobody's talking about real estate. So now everybody's talking about AI, right? But there's a very, very small portion of actually leveraging this effectively. Which is one of the reasons I've sought out coaches, I've paid for courses, I've gone down deep in the rabbit hole, because I wanted to learn what is our future. Right? I'm only 26, so if I'm going to figure... a little bit older than that, but if the next generation is going to be leveraging AI and coming after my job and being more productive, then I need to figure that out. So the first thing you want to do is just figure out how to make, does everybody know what the concept of AI is? Like when I say artificial intelligence? Okay, just a quick blur, because my engineer friends keep saying, Rick, you're not teaching AI, you're teaching large language models, and AI is when I do this in space, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, pipe down. Like for lay people, AI is when you go onto something like ChatGPT, Claude, Google's Bard, Microsoft's Bing, and you type in something and you say, can you tell me how to do this? As opposed to searching as you traditionally have in Edge or Bing or Google. Google now has an AI engine. Microsoft now has an AI engine. ChatGPT, which is OpenAI, came out with a large language model. And what the large language model basically does is it takes everything ever published on the internet that's digitally available, puts it into a massive database, makes it accessible, catalogs it faster than Google, and allows you to cross-correlate, cross-relate faster than Google search. So it used to be like, hey, how often do I have to pick up after my dog in the dog run before it starts to smell? That was a Google question. But now it's, what's the best way I can prevent cancer in my dog and change the diet? And give me a recipe for the week and for the month and a protocol. Like, it's so much deeper and more nuanced. And the better you chat with it, the better ChatGPT will chat back with you, right? So you have to get good at chatting with it. So one way to do that is view your job, view your home life, view everything as, how can AI make this a little bit better, easier, faster, cheaper, change something for me, right? Like someone lights you up in an email and you're like, your lizard brain comes out. You want to respond back like, oh, hot and bothered, like, you're going to attack them and really show them who's boss. And then you're like, that's probably not a wise move. So you copy their email into ChatGPT and you say, hey, can you respond in a polite, professional manner and get this point across without swearing? And it'll send you back an email. You copy and paste that into Gmail, send it, and you save your job, you save your relationships. Right? So you try to use it in kind of everything you're doing. One of my favorite examples is like, okay, I've got bread, lettuce, tomatoes, salami, and cheese in the fridge. What can I make that's not a sandwich? Right? Because I'm sick of eating a deli sandwich. And it might come back, hey, why don't you put the bread in the oven, make croutons, chop up the lettuce, make a salad, dice up the tomatoes, shred the cheese, add a little ranch dressing, and now you've got a salad as opposed to a sandwich. Like, oh, that was a good idea. And like, it changes the presentation. It's the same ingredients, right? Like, think about a Mexican restaurant. They must have had AI at some point. Burrito, taco, enchilada, chimichanga, it's all the same thing. They just wrap it differently. Italian, the same thing. Pasta, tomato sauce, meatballs. Hey, how can I come up with 10 different recipes and sell it for more money? Bam! All right? So, it's the same thing. So, this is, I was just playing around, and I'm like, okay, well, if I had to give a presentation on how do you use AI at home, why don't I ask AI what it can do for me? So I made a video, and in this example, I just said, give me 10 uses of AI and ChatGPT in my home life. This created this, from that one sentence, this created the script and all the visuals you're about to see.
Ever pondered how artificial intelligence can simplify your life as a working parent? Introducing ChatGPT, a conversational AI that can make your day-to-day tasks a breeze. Here are 10 ways ChatGPT can help. First up, ChatGPT can serve as your personal assistant. Picture a world where you can delegate tasks like setting reminders for important events or making shopping lists. All this without lifting a finger. Just tell ChatGPT what you need and consider it done. Second, ChatGPT can act as an educational tool. It can answer your toddler's ceaseless questions from why is the sky blue to what do kangaroos eat? No question is too odd or too difficult for this AI. Third, ChatGPT can be a storyteller. Bedtime stories are a beloved tradition, but sometimes you might run out of tales to tell. With ChatGPT, you can create new, exciting stories every night. Fourth, ChatGPT can help with language learning. Whether you're trying to teach your little ones a second language or you're learning one yourself, ChatGPT can assist with practice conversations, grammar tips, and vocabulary. Fifth, ChatGPT can be your recipe assistant. When you're short on inspiration for dinner, ChatGPT can suggest recipes based on ingredients you have at home. Sixth, ChatGPT can help you stay updated. It can provide quick summaries of the latest news, ensuring you stay informed even when you're short on time. Seventh, ChatGPT can be your fitness coach. It can suggest quick exercises to do at home, help you track your progress, and provide motivation when you need it. 8th, ChatGPT can assist with mental well-being. It can guide you through mindfulness exercises, helping to reduce stress and improve focus. 9th, ChatGPT can be a source of entertainment. It can suggest games to play with your toddlers or even play a game of trivia with you when you need a quick break. Lastly, ChatGPT can help you stay connected. It can help draft emails or messages, making communication smooth and effortless. You can also ask ChatGPT to suggest free or low-cost activities to do with your children over the weekend, to recommend a new Italian restaurant for a quiet date night when you have a sitter, or help plan a vacation to San Diego with fun, kid-friendly activities, including destinations, booking sites, open hours, and trip routes. In summary, ChatGPT can be your personal assistant, educational tool, storyteller, language tutor, recipe assistant, news updater, fitness coach.
How incredible is that? I typed one sentence into an app, and all of that came back. Now, I actually went in and edited that video and gave a couple personal examples at the end, because I've used it for what do I do this Saturday or this Sunday when I have my kids, what fall festivals are around, and make a 30-minute drive from this zip code and tell me the price of the admission, the hours, and what pumpkin festivals can I go to, right? So as a realtor, one of the things I did, and I was asked how am I using this as a realtor, as I said, I want to come up with fall leaves, right? And so I came up with this post, and people, those are my photos, but here's short drives, long drives from Denver of how to see leaves, when to see them, based off of current predictions based in the newspaper. I took an article and said, here are the predictions of the colors changing. And said, based off of this current data, can you tell me drives within an hour of Denver and drives within 7 hours of Denver, long and short, for the next 3 weeks when people can see leaves? How do I drive? Where do I drive? Where can I stay? What's a good place to eat? And in 30 seconds, I had an article I could post on Facebook. I could change the format, put it in an email. I could change the format, put it on a web page. And I'm not going to change the format. I asked AI to do it for me. So please reformat for Facebook. Please reformat for this. Put it in a YouTube script. Put it in an outline. Then I can put it on a teleprompter, and I can read the teleprompter. Or I can go based off of the script and personal experience. AI doesn't replace you, but it gets you 90% of the way there, right? I would never use that video that I just showed you. And that was a free version. That's why it had all the watermarks on it. But if I paid to upgrade, I could get rid of the watermarks. It's all stock imaging. I could change the images. I could put in someone at a date night eating spaghetti when it talks about an Italian restaurant. You can modify it, but it gets you 90% of the way there, right? But then I was like, oh, I need to add 2 slides. Like I went to San Diego, and I went to Portland, and I was like, When I flew into Portland, I drove down to Tillamook, and I was going up to Cannon Beach. I had 8 hours to spend with 3 kids. Like, that's a long time with 3 kids in the car in a place I don't know very well, right? So what I used to do is I'd go on Google Maps, and I'd say, well, Google Maps, pull it up, where are the tide pools, where are the hikes, where are the ratings, where are the pictures, and I'd spend 4 or 5 hours planning 5 hours of a vacation. I went into ChatGPT and I said, hey, between Tillamook and Cannon Beach, Oregon, as I'm going along the coast, what are some kid-friendly activities? My kids like finding clams, they like tide pools, they like hiking. Can you tell me can you propose a route, propose some stops, and tell me where to go? 30 seconds later, I had the whole itinerary planned. That saves 4 hours of my day. Now I can either go invest that 4 hours back with my kids, or I can invest that 4 hours at work. I can go and actually work out, read the Bible, do whatever I want to do, right? But you have time back. And what I love about AI is ChatGPT, how can you help me do this? ChatGPT, how can you help me with recipes? How can you help me with my diet? How can you help me with my exercise routine? How can you help me plan my weekend? How can you help me plan my family vacation? And it'll tell you, it'll say, well, I can give you routes, I can give you suggestions, I can do this, I can do that. Would that be helpful? What else would you like to know? So you ask it what it can help you with, and it'll tell you what it can help you with, and then it'll help you, which is pretty cool, right? So we ended up having a much better trip. My kids did all the tide pools, found all the clams, we did all the things we wanted to do, hiked in the rainforest, and at 4 o'clock we showed up at the hotel, exhausted and spent from the day, but totally happy, as opposed to crying and throwing Cheerios in the back of the car, which also happens. But it's not going to change your kids, but it can make your life a little more fun. So this slide's for people who don't know what ChatGPT is. This little section at the bottom is called a prompt. And a prompt is how you ask, that's how you speak with AI. whether it's Bard or Bing or ChatGPT or Claude or any one of the others, Proximity. I'll refer to it as either ChatGPT or AI for sake of, or for ease. But you put something in the prompt, and you're going to prompt or nudge or ask or suggest the AI to speak back to you, right? You're going to tell it what you want. ChatGPT has two versions. It has a free version and a $20 a month version. The 3.5 version is really good for speed. Like, I really don't care how accurate or how nuanced my Oregon vacation was. I just kind of want to do them quickly. So I use 3.5. When I'm writing to my clients, when I'm rewriting something, let's say I'm taking something that I don't like, oh, I really know. Does everybody familiar with DISC profiles? Like personality profiles, someone's like a high D, right? They're really driven, they're really time sensitive, they're an action taker. You might have someone who likes more events or socializing, or they might like more details. Well, if I meet with somebody and I realize they're really, really a detailed person, and I'm really probably not in my normal day-to-day in the way I communicate, I might write an email and I'll say, hey, can you rewrite this for an I personality in the DISC profile? Right? What else would you need to know for me to fill this out in a more nuanced way? ChatGPT will give me 3 more questions. I'll answer those questions, then I'll rewrite my email for an I personality, which helps in sales, which helps when you're starting a business. You can tailor your communication to the personality receiving it, as opposed to just speaking in your language all the time and only communicating S to S or D to D or high driver to high driver, right? You want to communicate with people as they are, not as who you are, to be an effective communicator. So that's what I'll use ChatGPT for. It's $20 a month. It's not that big a hit to the bank. So some of the key terms, a model is what the AI has learned from. So that's sort of the bulk of the knowledge behind it. And so Claude has a slightly different knowledge base and a model than ChatGPT and Bard and Bing. Facebook's coming out with Meta's coming out with Llama. I'm sure Elon Musk and the Billionaires Club's going to fight and build his own engine. Everybody's building their own, right? Input is what you give it, output is what gives back. So I think you guys know this because you all kind of said you have some familiarity with AI. The prompts for marketers. Some examples here, like, hey, can you provide me with some ideas for a blog post? Here's an example of what and you can say, here's an example of what I'm talking about. Or, write a product description for this. Or suggest inexpensive ways I can do that without using social media. As a realtor, one of the ways I do it, I've been doing real estate for 21 years, so like, I'm kind of tired of saying open floor plan, light and bright, cozy, comfy, blah, 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 blah. I mean, like, sorry, but it's a secret. We are tired of writing that stuff. So, like, for my big luxury listings, I would sometimes hire somebody and I'd say, hey, for $50 or $75, can you just help me out? I'm like up to my ears in kids and dogs and work and stress. Like, I don't have the creative juices to put into a really nice listing description, but my clients deserve it. So does anybody else have experienced creative blocks, or is it just me? Right? So I'll say, hey, here's all the information about the house. Here's an example of a good listing. Here are 3 good examples of good listing descriptions, because otherwise it's going to pull from the internet at large, and it might pull a bad one. So here are 3 examples. Here's my information. Can you craft a really good listing description? I've got a 3,500 character limit based off of these examples and this information. Here's the output I want. So you get very structured with it and tell it. That's called prompt engineering. You have to engineer your prompt, and we'll go into that a little bit. So you can also ask it for a tone. You can say, I need you to write this professional. I need you to write this as someone who's friendly, engaging, with the intent of conversion and sales. I need you to write this. You can say, I want to write this in the style of Dan Kennedy. I want to write this in the style of Abe Lincoln. Right? Like, you can ask it to write in any style you want. Like a fun one to play with is write it in the style of Dr. Seuss. Right? And so can you write my email newsletter in the style of Dr. Seuss, just to like change it up a little bit, and give yourself a laugh in the middle of the day. But if anything it can find out there, it knows, it'll use. So one of the ways I use this in sales and marketing is I'll find a really good book on like LinkedIn marketing, or I'll find a really good book on email drip campaigns, or I'll find like the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And I'll ask ChatGPT, like, do you know this book? Are you familiar with it? Yes. Can you summarize it for me? I'm testing it. It says, I'm going to read it, I'm like, yeah, it's not hallucinating. So hallucinating when ChatGPT does it, I can tell from a couple of you might have. But hallucinating, I'm just kidding. But hallucinating is when ChatGPT makes something up, right? Think of AI as like a really eager golden retriever. It's going to bring you a ball. It's going to bring you a dead squirrel. It's going to bring you a sock. It just wants to please you, right? But you asked for a ball. And it's going to grab the nearest rotten tomato it can find and bring it to you. It's like, ball? No, you're hallucinating. That's not a ball. That's a rotten tomato. Go back and find a ball. ChatGPT will do the same thing. It's only current now through January 2022. It was September 21. But it only goes back, so it only has so much data. And it only has so much memory. So when you're prompting it, it'll build. The chat will build on itself. It'll get smarter through the chat until it gets dementia. Like Adam Sandler in 50 First Dates, like that movie. It'll forget what happened and it'll wake up and go, wait a minute, I forgot that prompt at the top. You might have to re-remind it and go back. And then that data set, as large as it is, goes through, but you might have to keep reminding it. So, but when you're doing the tones, you can say, hey, let's do this so I can send it out and I can communicate with people in a way that I wanted to communicate. Commands. Act as a professional copywriter. Act as a professional real estate agent. Act as somebody who is a social media marketing expert for small businesses and startups. Act as someone who runs a brewery, and has run breweries for 20 years. You can reverse engineer something that you find online. Where was I going with the book example, though? Building that office. I'll come back to that. So when you're stringing something together, you can act as a role, create a task, show the format you want it. You can set some restrictions. Like as a realtor, I always say, please abide by the Fair Housing Act. I can't mention family status, physical ability, gender, all this stuff, right? Sexual preference. So I'm like, here's the Fair Housing Act. When you give me output, I'm still going to have to read it because I don't want to get in trouble or offend anybody or be rude. But I still want it to give me a bigger head start. And so I put some constraints on it. You're going to act like this. You're going to do this with this tone. This is the format I want it. I want a 2-column table. I want subject lines bold. I want the following points bullet point. Give me some italics, whatever it is. But then you're going to set some restrictions, and then you can say, here's the output I want. And the more you give it, the more you engineer your prompt, the better your output. This is just for funny. So in 1 month, you can do it too. Learn Photoshop. So you can get a really nice belly at Photoshop. But that's kind of like AI too, right? So people are presenting themselves differently now in a very short period of time, not because they did all the work of going to school. They put the school into AI and then brought it to them. So they're not smarter, they're just leveraging things better. You guys like that picture? You want me to leave it up a little bit? Yeah. So leveraging AI at work a little bit. So there's a study done by Harvard and MIT recently that people using AI are giving 40% higher quality than people not using AI. So earlier I said, your job's not going to be taken by AI, but people using AI will. It's because they're 40% better, right? The college kid that just came out and has very little experience can't be me because they're not going to bring industry experience to AI to leverage it properly. But they can certainly create a lot of volume, make a lot of noise very, very quick, right? They can generate a lot of marketing. They can generate a social media calendar in 30 days. They can generate YouTube ideas. They can edit their YouTube videos very, very quickly. So they can make a lot of noise really, really quickly and come after me. What's going to set you apart at your job is actually having industry experience leveraging AI. And so you have better prompts, you have better nuance, you bring your skill, your knowledge, your expertise, and you're enhancing your creativity, you're enhancing your productivity with AI. You're not depending upon it to be smart, right? It's your trainer, it's not your new body. And so it's going to help you move along. The other way I like to think of AI is it's a cognitive task remover. And what does that mean? Well, most of our jobs, and when I walked around the room and introduced myself and met you, most of our jobs are cerebral, right? We're thinking, we're processing, we're adding value, we're adding brain power, we're leveraging our world experience, our skill, our training to teach other people something, to accomplish a task, whatever that is. But there are usually steps involved. And so what AI can do is compress those steps. So I look back at the way technology came to us and I say, okay, when email was introduced, that was awesome, but now what a time suck, right? You get 1,000 emails a day and your inbox is blowing up. Texting was introduced. Great, I can just text somebody really, really quickly, but now I've got 400 texts. Social media was introduced. Great, I know you had a burger for dinner, but now I've got 500 people to follow, and I don't have time to go. Oh, and then there's Instagram and Twitter and Threads and Club Social and all this other stuff, right? Like, what the Sam, right? Everything's been asking for more time. YouTube. Oh, just become a YouTube expert. Okay, great. I didn't have an extra 20 hours a week, but thanks. That's a great way to get clients. Like, there's no way to stay on top of it all. But AI removes the steps involved in creating this organic content so that when you're putting stuff out there, it takes less time to do. So you can ask ChatGPT at work, like as a realtor in sales or if you're at a brewery, you can say, can you give me a 30-day social media calendar? I want to know what's posted on LinkedIn, X, Threads, Clubhouse. I need to know when I should put on Instagram versus LinkedIn versus Facebook. I mean, oh my God, I'm getting exhausted already just trying to list out all those, right? And everyone has a different format. Everyone has different reasons people follow. Everyone has different hashtags and emojis. It's like, oh my God, this is exhausting. And then you have to do that 2 or 3 times a day. But AI can actually create the whole calendar for you. You tell it what you want to achieve for the month, right? Maybe you look at what's trending right now, what YouTube videos are hitting, or what articles are popping up when you're typing something in. You're like, okay, my clients are probably interested in this. This is in the news, that's in the real estate market, that's kind of happening over here, and here's a calendar of events. Putting all of this together, create a 30-day calendar for me. You can have it export to a Google Sheet with all the different formats, all the different posting times, all the different everything, with all the different emojis, all the different hashtags, tailored for each different media platform, and then have it auto-post for you. And you created it in about 5 minutes. I don't know about you, I used to hire a creative agency about $1,000 a month to do that for me. And then the price went to $500, then it went to $30, but it's like, now I can do it myself in 5 minutes. That, to me, is a cognitive time saver, right? I compress the steps. And you can do it via a prompt. And then as you start going along, you start making a mega prompt, right? Because the prompt starts getting really long, you're putting in more constraints, more rules, more responsibilities and tones. And then you get to what we call a protocol, which is a string of prompts put together that now act in concert and build on each other. And then you can write a program so that you can actually use AI as your coach. And you say, when I give this, ask me these questions, or ask me this to drive more out. I'm like, what are 15 different ways that I can grow my brewery, or I can start my new business? What are some social media things I should be thinking about? What are some roles and responsibilities that might be applicable? What's my next hire, right? What's a good revenue-generating person to hire? Who's my first person? How do they pay for themselves so I don't have to pay for them out of my cash flow? I can pay for it out of the stuff they generate. Because it's going to pull from every successful business model ever created. And the more you tailor it, the more you tell it where to go. Look at my competitor, what are they doing? It'll look at your competitor and tell you what they're doing, and then you can get some free tips. So one of the things we do in the AI Enablement series, when we go into companies, is we say, okay, what are the roles, what are the responsibilities, and what are the tasks and skills? You'd be surprised at how many companies haven't actually written out like an employee handbook, right? And as an independent broker, as a realtor, I didn't have an employee handbook for 12 years. Don't tell Department of Regulatory agencies, but I was supposed to, but it was just me, so I'm like, why bother? And then I grew to 10 agents, and I never had the time to go back and figure that out. But then you start hiring an admin person, and you start hiring a marketing person, you start hiring a social media person, or you hire a VA, right? And you're a virtual assistant in the Philippines or Brazil or somewhere else. And you're like, how do I tell this person what their job is? Because if they don't know what their job is, they don't know how to benchmark their production, they don't know how to benchmark their sales, their marketing, they don't know if they're being effective in their job, so they can't get creative and enhance that, right? So the more they know, the more creative they can be, the more revenue you drive to a company. So we go in and we say, okay, what are the responsibilities of a chief marketing officer? What are the roles and responsibilities of an executive assistant? What are the roles and responsibilities? And we kick out all the roles and responsibilities. Then for all those roles and responsibilities, we say, what are the standard operating procedures for each one of those roles and responsibilities? All of a sudden now you've got a 20-page handbook of how McKenna's supposed to do her job, right? Which is pretty helpful because now she knows how to do her job. And you didn't have to sit there for 5 hours and train her. You're not going to use this as it comes out. but you're 90% of the way there, and you can go into it and refine it for your own company, and then bring it to somebody and say, read this, and tell me if you have, ask me if you have any questions, because you've read it, you put your company flavor on it, you put some input in it, and now she knows how to do her job. Or if you're going to hire a video editor overseas, and you're like, I gotta train this person. It's kind of scary, right? But if you have AI get you 80% of the way there, 90% of the way there, and then again, you add your own personal flavor, you add your own expertise, you add your own company flavor on top, it helps you out a lot. So how you do a protocol, when you go from a prompt to a protocol to a program, and we're not going to get into all that, but you identify the root cause of a problem worth solving, right? Whatever, does anybody have a problem at work or that you're in your current role or responsibility, shout out a problem you have.
Role descriptions, I guess.
Role descriptions?
And cross-training is a big one as well.
Okay. So getting one person to know how to do this person's job, so if somebody takes a vacation, they can do that? Yeah. One I often hear is like, how do I generate more leads? Right? Or how do I generate more sales? Or how do I engage a client and convert that client to, from my appointment to actually landing? Because I think all businesses actually run on actually bringing in someone else's money, right? So that ends up being a root cause of a problem. Then we find an expert who's created a principle to solve it. Because the problems we have feel unique, but they're not, right? How to talk effectively with someone, how to write effectively, how to market to someone, how to craft a winning sales letter. All that's been explored endlessly. And it's all in books by people who've solved million-dollar problems. So we take that principle, we take that book, and we educate, and so we create a series of processes to make that book and those principles, or those 5 books, actionable. We apply those books with all the brain power that went into creating them to your current problem. We write a protocol, which is a series of prompts we stack on top of each other to leverage the principles from that book. We cut and paste and then put it into ChatGPT. We get a product on the tail end for you. Right? So we come in and we say, what's your most pressing problem? And we dive into the problem. And we do some research on who solved that problem before. I'm not smart enough to solve all those problems. I'm just wise enough to know where to go. So I find someone who solved the problem and then I bring that solution to your business and leverage AI to make it actionable for you repeatedly. So you don't have to encounter the problem anymore. So we'll take something like the 39 steps on the left and all the standard operating procedures to improve a process, right? So we take processes and people to increase our KPIs, or our key performance indicators. So we look at all these things. It's kind of a hard slide to read from this distance, I apologize. To improve the people, to improve the KPIs. So we'll take we'll take all of this to drive more revenue, which drives more profit to a company. And you were talking about doing consulting for companies and trying to grow their productivity. We just take people, AI, processes, AI, to get KPIs with AI improved enhanced results. And key performance indicators can be measuring anything. It's not just money. It can be how are we hitting our values? Are people demonstrating our values when they're interacting with customers, when they're interacting with each other? Are they cross-trained so that they can actually cover for each other and go on vacation, because that's one of our values, right? So key performance indicators can be just about anything. Mass content creation. So with AI, you can do this with volume and consistency. You can have the same tone of voice. You can create massive amounts of content, right? I did that whole leaf peeping road trip, right, for my clients in like 30 seconds. And I had people commenting, wow, that's a lot of dedication. I'm like, you betcha. Like I sat there on Google Maps and I typed this whole thing out. No, I didn't. But my clients think I did, right? And the people that I'm trying to influence and get me to know me, like me, trust me, think I did. The pictures I took, I didn't have to, but I did. Right? So I'm like, okay, here's something I am passionate about in the fall, going leaf peeping, driving out to Telluride, and seeing that. And I always recommend, by the way, driving north to south. Don't be with the people that are seeing the dead light, see the live light. Because it's all like stained glass windows when it hits behind the leaves. It's really pretty. So anyway, I'm obviously very passionate about it, right? So I could write about it for hours. But then I'm not making money. I'm not serving my clients. I'm not helping somebody move their objective forward. I'm not helping someone move from one house to another. I'm not helping a client solve their problems at work with AI. I'm not doing whatever that is, right? So it helps you get a lot of volume very consistently. Personalization, we talked about that a little bit. Here's a fun one. I think it might, no, it was over here, I think. So you're trying to reach out to somebody. Here's a fun little tip for you. You can just copy their LinkedIn profile. Just scrape the whole LinkedIn profile. You scrape your LinkedIn profile. We have a protocol written that does this, but you can try to generate it on your own or ask me for it later. But you say, based off of who I am, and based off of who they are, can you write like a 300 character limit introduction message to try to ping them in a personalized way so that they might actually accept my connection request on LinkedIn? Why? Because it's 300 characters limit when you send a message to somebody. And then you can try to upgrade the sales navigator and all that. But if you're trying to reach out to someone because you're interested in forming a new relationship, forming a new job, reaching out for a career opportunity, they're more likely to respond to something that's a little more personalized. And you can personalize it in 300 characters, cross-reference people who they know, and cross-reference their interests and everything else. Well, to do it on your own might take you 20 minutes. To do it with a prompt and to figure it out might take 5 minutes, but to do it with a protocol take you 1 minute. And if sales and connection is kind of a numbers game, more at the top of the funnel gives you less at the bottom of the funnel, when you're putting a lot of information at the top, 5 minutes times 500 adds up. So I want that 500 contacts to be 1 minute each, because that gave me 2,000 minutes back. So I write a protocol for it, so that now when I put that protocol in, and I scrape, boom, scrape, boom, scrape, boom, scrape, boom, and I start posting, copy, paste this into LinkedIn, it's 60 seconds. And now I can form a lot more connections with HR managers, with relocation companies, with prospective clients, with real estate companies that you want to sell CE to, whatever that might be. But now it's your profile, their profile, seems a little more personal. Might reference a common connection or a common interest. Saw this in the news, blah, 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 how it might apply to your industry. And it's all written for you. Now, once you get to know somebody, I recommend writing in your own voice, right? Because you're going to be like, wait a minute, Rick doesn't sound like Dr. Seuss like a normal day, but I might. It depends on what my bedtime book was the night before. But you can personalize stuff to people. But you can also like integrate NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, or whatever that's called. NLP, I haven't said that in a while. But you can take any, Stephen Covey, 7 Best Habits of Highly Effective People. You can take How to Win Friends and Influence People. And you can say, use these principles and write my letter to you so that it communicates in a better fashion. Optimization. Wow. One of the things AI does really, really well is process massive amounts of data. Right? So one of the ways bigger companies are using this is to analyze all of your data to make shopping suggestions. Right? To make movie suggestions on Netflix. To say you might have run out of your favorite shampoo, or maybe you want to try this suit because they're paying us more than that suit, and so now you might want to use this, right? AI is processing all this data in the background and helping companies sell to you. So don't feel bad if you're actually using it to sell to other people. Diverse content forms. So I was asked, how do you repurpose content, right? Because it's kind of a pain. So I might write a YouTube outline, and I'm not going to write the whole script of a long-form YouTube video, like an 8 to 10 minute video, because I want it to still sound like me. And when people see a video, they hear your voice, they feel your energy, they know how you deliver stuff, and they know how you speak. And so by the time they actually have watched a few of your videos, they're more likely to actually do business with you or form a relationship with you that might lead to some business or something else, right? So you want your videos to sound like you. You want your videos to sound like you, so you don't want to read a script, you want to read an outline. But so now I've got a script. I do my video, right? I kind of look at the camera for a little bit, smile for 3 seconds, start talking, smile for 3 seconds, stop, look down. Oh, what was I supposed to say? Look up, smile for 3 seconds, talk. Right? And you keep referencing your outline, but as long as you're silent in between when you're doing that, if you use video at all, there are tools like Opus Pro and Descript that will actually automatically cut out all your silent parts. And so all the parts where you just smile, stop, looked, as long as you're not muttering under your breath about how bad you feel in front of the camera and how self-conscious you are and oh my gosh, I should have done my hair and worn a different shirt and everything else, as long as you're not muttering stuff like that, silent, read your notes, look back up, smile so that when it cuts back in, you look kind of normal and you're not doing this. But it'll cut out all the silent parts automatically and trim that video down to something like 3 minutes. It might take you 18 minutes to record. But you don't have to get it in one take. And then if you use Opus, and so on Descript, which is an AI tool, and if anybody wants these tools referenced in here, just scan the QR code. What was that tool about videos or whatever? But you can use a tool like that and say, okay, instead of editing a video based off of a waveform of my voice and looking at where my sound cut off and trying to scissor it right there, and then scissor it right there, and then ripple delete and pull this together and do all that, I can actually just highlight part of the script, right-click and say, send a new video. I liked that part. I actually spoke elegantly for 30 seconds. That could be good on Instagram. So right-click, poof, kick it over, automatically adds subtitles, automatically adds emojis, makes it pretty for TikTok or whatever, and post it. But I could just take a long form, bless you, I could take stuff from a video I made that was longer and trim it by words, and it'll trim there. I can trim it by uhs, like, so, all that stuff I said in the video that I didn't like, it automatically trims all that out for me. Massive time saver, and you look a lot more professional. Still you, but people don't like to hear that when they're watching a video. Another thing you can do on Opus Pro is if you you've made the video, you've popped it up on YouTube, you ask AI, what should be my video title, what should be my body description, what should be my hashtags, suggest all that for me. AI can generate a thumbnail for me that's interesting for YouTube, right? Because y'all have to look like this on YouTube to get anybody to look at anything. So like generate that. How should my YouTube thumbnail have a different title than my title, and all of that done in seconds. You post it up on YouTube, now you take that link and you throw it over to Opus Pro and you say, Opus Pro, analyze my video for me. And it'll pull out 10, 30-second segments for you and say, here are the 3 most likely to go viral, here's their viral score, and here's why they're going to go viral. By the way, we threw all the emojis and everything on for you. Why don't you just download these and post them somewhere? So now you don't even have to hire the VA, the virtual assistant in the Philippines, to do that for you, $4 an hour. You can just do it yourself or hire someone to do it for you, but do it a lot better, more efficiently, and more consistently. And then you say, okay, now that I have this video, go over to YouTubeTranscript.com, pull down the whole transcript of what you said, and say, hey, AI, can you write for me an accompanying Facebook post, a LinkedIn post, an email, an Instagram cover, an X, it's X, right? Twitter's now X for some reason. So can you write 140 characters for X? Can you do this for Threads? Can you do this for Clubhouse? Can you do this for whatever, right? So I got to post to all these places. And I want to promote my video in all the places that people like to see my video, but I have to speak the language of the platform that people are watching my video in, because LinkedIn has a different feel to it than Facebook. So it'll rewrite. It'll take your transcript and say, sure, this is how it should sound, here, 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 here. So when you're trying to promote an event at the Clayton, and you say, I really want people to fill the room for an AI enablement conference, you say, here's what the last presentation was all about. Can you write something that is really, really enticing and makes people actually want to come to the next one or watch this video or do whatever, right? So that's the burst content forms. Huge, huge time saver. So it's also cost effective to have AI help you with your editing. To even get the start of that video at the outset of this presentation, I could have gone to Shutterstock. I could have gone to Adobe for stock photos and videos, and Envato Elements, and all these places that have this. I know how to do this. I've been doing it for 15 years. But how much time am I spending? How do I value my time? Right? Am I worth more than $10 an hour, or am I valuing myself at maybe $500 an hour? If I value myself at $500 an hour, I'm probably going to try to have AI do 90% of the heavy lifting, and then hire someone to do the other 10%. Or I might say, hey, right now I've got more time than money, so maybe I'll do a little bit of this, learn how to do it, so I learn how to delegate it. And a lot of times, I'll be brought in by a manager or a director or a team leader or a broker owner, and they say, hey, can you teach my staff how to do this? Because I've got to be running the business, but they're running in the business, right? But I've got to work on it. So I'm going to stay at high level. I can understand that the quality we're going to get out of AI is 40% better. Harvard and MIT said that. So if my quality is going to be 40% better, train my staff, train my employees, train everybody in my company, and then tell me what you did. Because they value their time more than that, right? They're not going to sit in the room, but they want to know their people are being trained by the best on how to do that. Because it all impacts the bottom line. Here's kind of a fun one. R&D used to mean like research and development, right? But now it's so easy to rip off and duplicate. So whether it's your competitive, brewing competitor, or what are some other businesses? What's the business you're in?
Commercial energy insurance.
Okay. Probably in that too. If people actually SEO that, if people Google that. But in general, like if you're the CE shop versus some other shop that's trying to sell CEs, when I pull up like a course that I want people to find at the CE shop, which is continuing education, why is my competitor always one notch above me? Why is their website outranking me? Right? So go have AI analyze their site. Figure out why are they better SEO and how are they constantly beating you out? And maybe they're spending more money and they've been doing it longer, better. Right? How many pages do they have on their website? Figure that out. Right? But like a brand new real estate firm, for example, and I'm going to go back to that as an example. Back in like 2002 or one or something when I started in this industry, I was like, oh, web page domination, and you got to have long tails and all this stuff, and I was going to write all this copy on all these neighborhoods because I knew Denver so well. And I'd stay until 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, I haven't written like 400 words because this is hard stuff, right? So I'd start learning from like Neil Patel, who's a search engine optimization expert. Then I'd go learn from Russell Brunson, who's a funnel expert. Then I'd go from this expert and that expert, and I'd spend all this money learning from all these people. Well, guess what you can do now? You can say, in the style of Neil Patel, can you SEO my page? Right? Why hire? I mean, yeah, if you're playing big time, you might want to actually go hire Neil Patel because the guy's a genius in this field. But he's written so many books and so many articles that have been categorized by AI, and you can build a knowledge base on that too. You can say, I want to reference the best in the industry on how to SEO, and I want to beat this page. And there are little plugins you can get for ChatGPT, and you can do SEO analysis and optimization of your page and analysis of your competitor's page. And you can say, okay, now that I know this, now that I know that, and you're going to pull off this book and these best practices, whoop their butt, right? Because I want to be first. I provide a better service. And I'm ethically not doing a service to my clients if I'm not being found, because I know I do a better job. So if I'm going to do a better job, and I know that in my heart, then you owe it to your clients to be found. And just because they're spending more money than you on other stuff, you can now beat them and take them on with AI. With social media content, it's always good to define your goals. You want to know, what are you trying to achieve? If you just say, write me a 30-day calendar, you're going to be like, sure, talk about hot dogs on Wednesday. It might be a baseball game, you can talk about the weather. Well, that doesn't really achieve an objective. So you want to train it, when you're talking to it and you're asking it, remember roles, tasks, functions, constraints, and format, like all the stuff you need to put in to do a good prompt, and to engineer a good prompt, and eventually get to mega prompts and protocols. You want to define your goals. Hey, my goal is to become an expert, to demonstrate that I know my stuff, that I know my neighborhood, that I know my industry, that I know my field, that I know, like, Huggies diapers, whatever you're representing. I know this better than anybody else. Know your audience. Who are you trying to reach? Sometimes you don't know. So I used to go through all sorts of exercises with coaches, and they would say, define your ideal client avatar. I'm like, whoa, that sounds fun. Draw a little cartoon and make it two-dimensional. Like, it could be yellow, tan, black, red, green, get purple, give it horns. And I'm like, okay, now, what is my avatar? What are their fears? What are their goals? What are their aspirations? What are their obstacles? I don't know. What's a $2 million home buyer in Cherry Creek one? I can guess, right? But I haven't personally bought a whole bunch of $2 million homes for my own portfolio, so I'm not 100% sure what their motivation is. But you can write a prompt and say, or if you don't know how to write a prompt, say ChatGPT. I want to learn what my ideal client's avatar is. I'm selling beer. Who comes to a microbrewery in this neighborhood? Can you tell me? What do I need to ask of you to tell me who my ideal client avatar is? And we have prompts and protocols already written out for this, but if you don't know, just ask it. ChatGPT, how can you help me uncover my ideal client avatar? Make it your sidekick. So it'll tell you, well, here's what I need to know. What else do you need to know? Well, here's what else I need to know. Answer the questions. Do you know enough now to give me my ideal client avatar? Oh, sure. So what was your business again in the back?
Photography.
Photography, and you had agents all over the country, right? So I'm trying to represent my agents. I have a number of avatars, right? I have an avatar of my photographers. Then I have where they're trying to sell their goods. Then I have people buying the goods that they're trying to sell. And then I have all the people, there's so many different avatars. And then the avatar might change at different price points. The avatar might change for different styles, different personalities. What did you sell again? You just started?
Just going into consulting.
Consulting, okay. But so you say, okay, what's my ideal client, right? Here are the skills I have. How do you help me find my ideal client? I'm a startup consulting business. I've got a lot of experience. I know my stuff. Who am I selling to? Who am I consulting? Right? You're in consulting. So it's like, define for me my ideal client avatar. Now that I know who I'm speaking to, know your audience, and you have your goals, say, based off of who you know about who I'm trying to talk to and what I'm trying to achieve, can you give me some content? And then when I should post it, how I should post it. And then analyze how it did. Why did I only get like 5 views on this? Tell me why, and come back and give me some suggestions on how to improve. Right? Why is this not being found? Why is it not resonating? Why is someone not clicking on the subscribe button? Why is someone not hitting the buy button? Why are they going for the low ticket offer, not high ticket offer? ChatGPT and AI can crunch all that data for you. So again, AI is not the solution, but we can use it to get 90% of the way there. So here's something that I do, and you can apply this to your industry. I came up with kind of a list of what other people were doing with videos that were performing well in the industry, in this example, the real estate industry. So here are videos that are doing really, really well. Someone's moving from Austin, Texas. They're like, well, what's the cost of living in Littleton? I'm about to accept a job offer. Is the salary going to cover it? And they're Googling that. And so somebody's video in Seattle is performing well. 5 reasons why you should move to Lakewood versus Littleton. You can do, what does $750,000 get you in Inglewood, right? I could do all that research. I know all this stuff. But if these videos are performing well, and extrapolate this to your own industry, if you don't know how to do that right now, just raise your hand and we'll do it live with you. But you go into YouTube and you say, or you go into your competitor's website and say, what's performing really, really well? Analyze it for me. Figure it out for me. Then give me some ideas. And so when I started putting in prompts, I put in the role, the task, the constraints, the criteria, and I said, hey, remember to abide by the Fair Housing Guidelines. I cranked out 19 outlines in an hour and a half. That's 10 weeks of content that I know how to create instantly in an hour and a half. I didn't have to sit there and write it. I didn't have to research what Littleton was versus Lakewood, or Arvada versus Aurora, and yes, I like to use the alliteration. But Golden versus Genesee, who else can do one?
Boulder versus Brookfield.
What?
Boulder versus Brookfield.
There you go.
Hilltop versus Cherokee.
Nice. So I didn't have to research all that, right? Because eventually you're going to start wearing out and you're going to get tired of writing. And you're not going to know. And you're going to be like, oh, I'm such a failure. Right? The Highlands versus Highlands Ranch. Like, I don't want to research that nonstop. That's not the highest and best use of my time. But I'm going to compress those cognitive steps. I'm going to have AI go out there, do the research for me. And again, be cautious because ChatGPT is only current through January 2022. So you might want to use it for some things, but if you're wanting really, really current data, go to Bing or Bard, Google's Bard, Microsoft's Bing, and they're going to actually reference where they found the data and why it's current and how it's current. So, and then you still might have to do some research and some fact checking, but at least if they're footnoting it, it's really easy to fact check. But if you're trying to look like an expert, you kind of want to make sure your facts are right. So, but it makes things really, really, really fast. Now I still have to record it, but now I can record it, have Descript take out all my pauses, all my silences, compress that down. Now my editing job is a lot lighter. I can throw in some B-roll or have AI throw in B-roll for me, because I can go to the first one, which is called InVideo. Have InVideo overlay a whole bunch of B-roll on top of me, so you're not just watching me talk all the time. You're suddenly seeing like a cute baby or a cute puppy, because those sell things. So like, I'm gonna like throw in more puppies, throw in more babies. My videos are dying here. So I can either get better at presenting, or I could throw in some more captivating B-roll and make my entertainment, which YouTube is entertainment, I can make that more exciting and entertaining to watch, so people come back and watch more and subscribe. So putting it all together, this was my prompt. Ends up being kind of a long prompt, but the more you do it, or the more you work with someone who knows how to do it, like I just write these for my clients and beta test them to make sure they're working, and then I actually give them to my clients and say, hey, let's use this in your role, let's use this in your business, let's use this protocol, let's use this so that you can achieve your objectives better, faster, cheaper. Because when people are investing in someone to come in and consult, right, you want to make sure that they're increasing revenue or they're never going to hire you, okay? So if they spend a lot of money on you and then they don't make anything, you don't get invited back. So you want to make sure you're delivering this, and then they keep doing this, and they keep doing this, and that's how you keep a healthy relationship. So I also would beta test it, and I'd say, okay, let's go on to Bing, let's go on to Bard, let's go on to Claude, let's go on to ChatGPT. I want to try this prompt out, because everyone has a different model, which is all the language they put in, the large language model. They've all got different language they put in to build their engine. Like her friend put in a certain number of books to get the baby knowledge, so it was building its own engine for baby knowledge. All of these have their own little baby knowledge. So Bard kicks out one thing, Claude kicks out another, Bing kicks out another, and they're all going to be slightly different. So you want to make sure that when you're using these, you're also kind of figuring out, okay, who's reading me better? What engine like jives with this role or responsibility, right? Like I kind of like the way ChatGPT is feeling my vibe on the books and integrating with my emails, but gosh, you know, I'm trying to write something knowledgeable and current about Grand Lake. Okay, I don't know, right? So I'm going to use like Bard or Bing because I want something current. I want something that's factually accurate now as opposed to something that's outdated. So it's going to go into, that was the Facebook example.
May I
So
ask a question?
Yeah, absolutely. Please do. I got to stop talking.
When you think about like large data sets, have you done any work with AI? I'm talking like 8,000 or more people. Have you ever done anything like that?
Not personally, but my mentor has, so he could definitely help you.
Yeah.
And you're talking about pulling from massive amounts of spreadsheets and analyzing and finding trends and data and stuff like that.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
I usually am the head of talent for large Fortune 500 companies, and we do a lot of surveying of our employees and then pay a lot of PhDs a lot of money to look at the data and figure out what we do from an engagement perspective.
Right.
So I was just curious, taking that large amount of data and putting it in, and I'm sure there's probably a lot of prompting appropriately that you would have to do to come out with something.
Yeah, you're writing whole programs at that point to interact with the data and go back in and out of the Google spreadsheets and in and out of the files and PDFs and overlay the stuff you want to find from it. Yeah, I mean, it does get really, really complicated, but it can be done. And that's one of the things AI does really well is analyze massive, massive amounts of data. But then you have to write very, very, very specifically for that. So that's, you know, most of my consulting that I'm doing is on a marketing and sales and interaction communication level. But my mentor definitely can dive as deep as you want on that. So.
Well, I just took a job as a partner that now has business development, so maybe I need this for the sales because I'm not good at that piece.
Yeah, and one thing other people are doing is they're saying, hey, here, you know, write an Indeed job description, right? Here, I just analyzed the roles, the responsibilities, the tasks. Here's the LinkedIn information about my company and our company manual and our handbook. And here are the goals and objectives of what we want this job to actually do. Pull all of these together and write a good job description of someone and my ideal candidate and find them. And now that I have that, cross-relate all of these resumes against that and all these cover letters against that, and analyze their disc personality and their profile based off of the job type, based off of what we're looking for, based off our job description, give them a rating and tell me how they match. And so let the cream rise to the top based off of that. Now you might miss one or two, depends on how well you're coding it. But HR departments are really starting to get into this, because you go on to LinkedIn, a job's posted and it says, oh, it's $250,000. There are 500 applications for that job, right? Everybody's like, recession's coming. I want a $500,000 job. So everybody's applying for that job, right? And all of a sudden, HR department's like, I don't have a freaking clue how I'm going to process all this data. And 90% of them aren't qualified. So let AI sort that out for you. Write a better description, analyze the candidates, get the candidate you want, and then teach them how to actually do their job. And here are the protocols and the programs and the processes of how you can do your job better, so that when you raise time comes, you've been benchmarked, and you're not worried about whether you're going to be kept or not. You actually know, I hit my benchmarks, I crushed them, I'm going to get a raise. And that creates a better, esprit de corps work. But this is what I wrote, for example, for that leaf example, which was, I'd like to suggest fall leaf peeping drives to my clients based on current knowledge and projections for when and where leaves are turning color within an 8-hour drive of Denver. For September and October, provide emails suggesting drives, one short, one long, with routes, where to go, what to expect, where to eat, etc. And with that little thing, it kicked out all of that. I'm like, what a time saver. Compressing cognitive labor. Another example I had up here, not that, was this book. So, has anyone heard of a lead magnet? A lead magnet is something you give away for free. It could be a class of PDFs, a knowledge source, a little master class you did 4 years ago that you're just offering to people. It could be a taste of your consulting. It could be a buyer handbook, right? Keeping current matters. And a lot of companies will kick out these little lead magnets and say, we'll give you this if you just give us something in return. What do you want in return? Email address, cell phone, name. Like the bigger the value you give somebody, the more you can get in return. So I was like, well, I'm trying to teach people social media and marketing management. I better have a playbook, right? Lead magnet.
So I have a question. So you're the lead generation, and we're all here, right?
Yeah.
Have you already captured our emails?
No.
And so
No, Clayton doesn't give that to me.
okay.
So unless you scan that QR code or come up to me afterward, I don't have it.
Oh, okay. So when you say, so we have to like take a picture of the QR code for us to give you.
Yeah, you would scan that, enter
Okay.
your information, enter the question you want AI to address.
Okay.
That's my. So I'm trying to offer you massive value now,
Right.
so that you're curious enough to give me your email in exchange for the problem you want solved, which is the next time I'm going to offer you value. I'm going to solve your problem for free, and you're going to go, wow, you really solved my problem. Maybe he could solve this problem. But now that one maybe costs a little bit of money. Or that one costs a little bit of money, right? Because eventually somebody has to make some, feed the kids. So, but it's a hook. It's a way to get in the door.
Right.
Being very transparent.
But I understand the hook. I was just wondering what your hook was tonight. So
Yeah, that's my hook. Very transparent. So, but in this example, I said, I need for this clientele, and this clientele is I have an AI coaching program for real estate agents and brokerages and other people who have social media and marketing managers. So I went into AI and I said, hey, can you give me, for these two responsibilities, what are 8 major categories and 8 subtasks for each of those? So 64 tasks in general of what somebody should be doing in their job based off of this criteria, structure it this way, give me this sort of output, and then give me some prompts that they can use in AI to maybe enhance the way that they're doing their job. And then I took that and I brought it over to another program to design it, and I ended up with a book that I can release via PDF. I can do a flip book like this, but every week I release a different task. I'm going to try to get to the tasks and pass the table of contents here, but these are all the tasks and roles and responsibilities that we're going to talk about in this book, right? Like, do I know all of those? Probably. Do I have time to write all that? No. So AI was suggesting pictures for me to go with the book. I'm like, well, that looks like a pretty house, right? If I'm in social media management, I I want it to be visually attractive. But then I found a template I like to start putting this information into. And it takes me, now that I've got it kind of dialed in and I can rinse and repeat on AI, every week it takes me maybe 15 to 20 minutes to put this together, send it out to my email list and say, here's the new chapter. Here are the new prompts. Do you have any questions? Come back to me. I'm adding value, I'm adding value, I'm adding value. Oh, by the way, we have a monthly course on this. It's only $97. And every week we meet, we talk about the chapter that was released. And oh, by the way, there are more prompts that go deeper, more nuanced. You could buy those too, right? Little hooks to get in the door, little more hooks to grow that. And then some of them become one-on-one coaching clients. That's kind of the way the coaching model works. So I had to offer them enough value, and I kind of dressed it up to make it look a little bit sexy, right? Because I could have just kicked this off and put it in a program called Designer. It's just designrr.io. And you can upload any text you want there. It'll automatically format it into a book for you. All the colors, all the print, all the everything. Anything you throw in there, it'll just turn into a book. That's pretty cool. But like, I wanted this to look a little bit nicer than that, so I did it myself.
So how long did this take?
So getting it set up took me maybe 1 to 2 hours to get it to exactly where I wanted to start kicking it out. And that included modifying the template so that I'd know, like, okay, this section is 900 characters, or that section's 500 characters. So I wanted to put those constraints in so there'd be less editing time on my side, and to choose the pages I wanted. But now that I have it set up, it literally takes me 20 minutes a week to kick this
So
out.
if somebody wanted to start consulting practice,
Yeah.
this would be a good way to go.
Yeah, because now there's a reason to sign up for the email newsletter. Right? I sent out one broadcast saying, hey, I'm going to be sending this out. Is anybody curious? Click on this link and subscribe. Forward it to some friends. It's free every week.
So how would you put that?
Yeah.
How would you put it out there?
So it depends upon your experience in the industry. I tend to have a lot of relationships because I've been in this industry for 21 years. If I'm going brand new into a new industry, there are ways that you can take a LinkedIn profile, marry them together, send out a less than 300 character first message, and say, hey, love to connect. And then have ChatGPT do we have a protocol written where you do a 3 outbound email sequence based off of your profile and their profile. So once they accept that LinkedIn request, and you looked professional, you wrote a personalized request, they're getting bombarded, but yours stood out because you referenced someone in common and you referenced common interest. They say yes. Now you start doing the 3 outbound email sequence, and in that, you just reference, hey, this is something I've got going on, by the way. Do you want to click here? I'm sending this out every week. It's massive value. It's not canned content. The higher the price you charge for your consulting business, the higher you price to charge for whatever you're doing, the less canned it can be. Right? So when I'm talking about luxury, canned, keeping current matters in the real estate industry for $29 a month will give you all the content you want. Everybody's using the same exact content, straight out of a spam can, right? So canned. Great content, but there might be 4,500 realtors in the market doing the same content.
But you have to make yourself unique.
So I'm going to make myself unique because I want to serve a different price point. I want to add more value. So I'm not using the canned content. The higher the price point, the more distinct you have to be. So I'm saying, here's my ideal client avatar. What does someone who's buying a $2 million house in West Washington Park, what's their ideal client avatar? And AI kicks back out their fears, their wants, their objectives, their goals, their needs, right? Okay, now I want to write to that person with this print content. And in this, what kind of information do they want from me? What lead magnet could I create for them? They could create a seller handbook on why people sell at a 7% market when they're locked in 3% on their current mortgage. Are they interested in that? Oh yeah, it's trending all over it's trending all over the news. And again, extrapolate this to your own industry. So I've been told who my avatar is. I've been told what their fears are, what their goals are. I've been told what to write for them. AI wrote it for me. I could throw it in Designer, have it designed for me, and then I could send them the flip book with the fun flippy page sounds, and all of a sudden it's going whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. They're like, wow, you must know your stuff, Mr. Consultant, right?
And how many different programs did you have to use to get to that? I mean,
For this one, 2.
2. Okay, so you don't
Yeah.
have to be like this.
No, it doesn't have to become a monster.
So what's your success rate?
So I had in my first week, I had 70 people sign up for this for the newsletter, and it's growing. And I've had, I think I had like 450 clicks on my last one. When I was.
So your goal is to get clients.
My goal in that instance is to provide enough value that they say, hey, if this is what you get for free, damn Skippy, I'm hiring you because watch my productivity go up, or whatever their goal is, whatever their KPIs are. I need to enhance my company's workflow. I need to make sure people are cross-trained. I need to know how to hire a VA to do jobs and tasks and responsibilities. I need to know how to find new clients for my commercial insurance company. I need to know how to start a consulting business. I need to know how to do all these things, right? And eventually, when people, and there are companies out there, one I know of specifically that's built like putting 5 AI models together in a silo. So when you have sensitive health data, it's all in a silo over here, or even when you've got 800,000 records or whatever it is, all of that content's in a silo. You can siphon in from the internet, but no one can suck out. Because people are really worried about security and privacy. Right? Title companies are like, we don't want to put in someone's phone number and address and email into AI because everything you put into AI teaches it. So if you put in Coke's recipe for Coca-Cola, Pepsi's going to Google that or AI that and be like, sweet, we've been trying to get that for 80 years. We would have preferred it when it had cocaine, but now that it doesn't, like, how do we actually replicate Coca-Cola's recipe? Well, Coca-Cola is not putting that on. So when you see large corporations say, don't use AI at work, it's because they're not wanting sensitive corporate data accessible by the whole world. You never want to put personalized data. You never want to put your own personal finances, your social security number. But if you access one of these companies that's building silos, you can suck in Stephen Covey and Atomic Habits and all these wonderful books and principles to create protocols, and then act only within your own knowledge base, and nobody can pull it out. It's like a one-way vacuum. It's awesome.
So if your company had a process and they're looking to develop a more efficient process, are you familiar with Kaizen?
No.
The Japanese Kaizen, where you look at a process and you try to find, you evaluate your entire process from start to finish to make it more efficient.
Okay.
Can AI do that?
Absolutely. You just train it on Kaizen, and then say apply that to this. So you say, and that's where that when we had that
Kaizen event could take 5 days.
Yeah. Okay. But you could probably do it in an hour, right? So you train it up. You say, here's everything I know about Kaizen. Summarize it for me. Tell me you're understanding this. Tell me you're not hallucinating. Now here's my situation. Can you apply that Kaizen to this? Bam. And all of a sudden you're like, whoa, you just saved me, you just made me look really smart, right? You know, when a realtor, like the ladies in the back there, when they're running comps on a home, looking for comparative sales, you can sit there and you can spreadsheet it all out, or you can type in the address into like one of 15 different programs and it'll spit out different valuations for you. Has anyone ever done a Zestimate on their home at Zillow? Right? That's an algorithm that's just processing massive amounts of data trying to find a value for your home. But that's a different model than some of the other companies that do that, right? So that's where then you have to hire an expert to say, well, which one of these 15 valuations in my home is actually accurate? So you're still going to have to bring your expertise, but you can certainly jumpstart it, get rid of the blank slate syndrome, and say, you know, how else could I be looking at this? Well, I remember there used to be, gosh, when I was in college, this was back in 88 to 92, there was a business manager who's like all over the press. Do you remember his name? Was it Tom Powers? Something like that. But you could say, hey, take all of his knowledge. I really like it. Build a knowledge base of that. And run every one of my decisions by this knowledge base. Because I want to make sure that I'm applying these principles because I really adhere to these. And as a consultant, this is my business model. This is what I'm teaching. This is what I'm offering, is expertise in this model. So yeah, all you have to do is train it up and go.
So what are your thoughts on government regulation of AI?
Definitely, I mean, off the cuff, should be, right? Because otherwise, but there's always going to be bad actors.
Yeah.
There will always be bad actors. There will always be people, trying to do stuff, right? There are people who are trying to steal wires all the time. There are people who call you asking for your social security number to verify that you can get $25 million from a Nigerian prince, right? I've done that how many times? 15, and I still haven't learned my lesson. That's kidding. And then none of the rates are for it, right? So there will always be bad actors.
Yeah.
AI makes them faster, better, cheaper, bad actors. But as long as the countries are trying to regulate this in some way, that at least the large controllers of the big databases are trying to respond ethically, hopefully that works. Otter AI, Bueller, a couple others, Firefly, are all ways you can have an assistant attend your Zoom meetings. We all had a lot of Zoom meetings during COVID, didn't we? Right? And so people started hiring llamas for $25 to appear on the Zoom meeting just to stir things up, right? Well, now you go into a Zoom meeting and there are otters and fireflies and all sorts of stuff, and they're not fake animals, they're actually AI taking notes on the meeting for you. And Zoom has that. Zoom has its own thing. And there's another one I came across, Time OS or something like that today. And they'll take the notes. Some of them go so far as here's what was said in the meeting. Here are all the times you mentioned we need to do this, we need to do that, we need to do this. Pull them out, throw them on your Google Calendar and the other person's Google Calendar, and make sure you all have the same to-do lists.
Can you do it in a way that the client doesn't see, or do you have to would you disclose it?
Yeah, you pretty much always have to disclose that something's there. Yeah. Just kind of you have to say, hey, this meeting's being recorded. Mm-hmm. It's you're recording the meeting just in type, right? So while it'd be nice, it doesn't really happen. The only way to do that is if you actually have your own screen recorder on, and then that kind of gets some good gray area.
Have you had a chance to see test the AI that Microsoft Excel is developing within it's actually supposed to be part of it, but I think it's in beta still.
Yeah. Ask me more about that.
Well, I'm just curious if you've had a chance to work with it at all.
I haven't had a chance to work with that specifically yet, no.
Yeah. I think that would be a big game changer for so many people who focus on Excel,
right?
Data analysis and things like that. But I have actually just interesting story to share with the group here.
Go for it.
So, as part of my recent transition to a new career, I went through this battery of assessments. And there are intelligence assessment, cognitive assessments, social assessments. And my husband is actually a PhD engineer, and we had to do this cognitive intelligence test. So I did it myself, and I was like, oh, I didn't score as high as I thought. So he came home, I said, hey, Ricardo, why don't you try this and see how you do? He did as bad as I did. So we started laughing. We're two people who, I have a graduate degree, he has a PhD, we're in this intelligence test. So then we started taking all the questions and putting them into AI. And we actually found that with him and I combined, we could not perform about 67% of the task as fast as AI could. Now, what we did find is the visual field or anything that was personal kind of knowledge data. Yeah. We outperformed it. But for any type of question, it's even it said trained traveling at X speed and this happened and that happened and this happened. We just put it in AI and don't tell my next employer that the score that went in was AI and us combined and my husband and me.
That's hysterical.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
So it's just really interesting to think about it in a practical application, and then what implications that has for selection in jobs, in schools, mm-hmm. and then to take it a level further from a diversity perspective, does everyone have access to that knowledge, and will people who do continue to outperform those who don't have access to that? So to your question earlier about the government, I think it opens up so many wide questions. I don't have the same faith that you have in the government, but yeah.
I don't necessarily have faith. I don't necessarily have faith either. So. And for that reason, because it might not find. It might think it finds the right candidate, but it might not.
There was a study done recently where they took 200 Wharton students. Wharton's a pretty good school. Mm-hmm. They took 200 Wharton students versus ChatGPT and said, come up with a new product. ChatGPT outperformed 200 students. Because think about how much knowledge it has and processing power and how many knowledge bases it's pulling from and how many experts it's pulling from. And there's no way that
It
even
must be
200
philosophically
brilliant
sound.
students could compete.
So do you think AI will devalue critical thinking skills?
It runs the risk,
I mean,
sure. So maybe
you
you talk
to
to
think through a tough problem
right,
and just be reliant on AI.
and it always could, right? Does spell check make us more dumbster, right? So like spell check has done that to us in one way because now we don't have to spell. Grammar check would have prevented the sentence I just tried to say, right? But does it make me less critical in the way I think, or does it just make me more efficient in writing something? There's always a give and a take. Students today don't really have to ever learn how to spell. You don't even write cursive anymore, right?
Yeah.
But they're typing. Like my 9-year-old daughter types pretty well because that's the skill she needed to learn for the next generation. But students versus teachers right now, there's all sorts of what do we do? I have a friend who's an assistant dean at a business school. He's like, yeah, my teachers are coming to me. How do I know that this paper was written by the student? And there are all sorts of plagiarism checkers and everything else, but that just adds another layer. But now the teachers are saying, well, how do I write my curriculum to challenge a 6th grader in a way that's different from the rest of the class because this one's brilliant in this section and this one's brilliant in that section. And how do I teach 6th grade at 4 different levels at the same time? So the teachers are fighting back saying, hey, I can use this to improve my curriculum and actually get a little me time back because teacher gets home and they spend the next 6 hours planning for the next day and they don't have a life. So and same thing at the college level and PhD level. So like, why don't we have AI help write our curriculum? AI plagiarism check the students, but if the students are learning to use it, let's lean into that and say, okay, here's how you could actually use AI for critical thinking and go deeper on your paper than you could on your own. So I remember when I was in college, I had a Vietnamese history class. And I decided to write, I'm like, well, Malcolm X, Vietnam, I'm like, why don't I marry the two together? And I said, racism at home and abroad in Vietnam. And I tried to compare and contrast. But I had to read a lot. And I was reading. And then I had to process it, write it, analyze it, structure it, outline it, right? And that's all very, very good because it taught me critical thinking. It taught me not only some really good facts and about history, but it also taught me how to process those facts. That's one skill level. But learning how to get AI to do it for you so you can go deeper, better, faster on that subject matter and then bring your own critical thinking to it is a whole different talent set. So it kind of cuts both ways. So this is the future of AI, and this is just, and I was saying this like even 2 months ago. Thanks for coming, appreciate it. So you get worried about all these prompts, right? Prompt engineering, oh my God. Like, how am I going to remember the structure and the constraints? And I forgot to put in the tone and the role, and what was the structure of that again? This doesn't matter, and my mega prompt's turning into a protocol prompt, and this is getting so long, right? And then, 51st dates. ChatGPT forgot what I was doing, and I got to re-input my ideal client avatar, and then I got to. So what's coming, and this one's already out there, but are overlays that will interface with AI for you. So you can see here, I want to write a blog post, an email, an outline, a headline. When you click on this more button, there are 30 more options that pop up. I want to write it short, medium, long. Here's my tone, my style, my goal. And all the tone, the style, the goal, optimized for direct response, SEO, or creative. I can just radio button.
So is this a GTT replacement? Or
So I can tell this to interact with ChatGPT. I can tell it to interact with Claude or Bing or Bard, as long as I have an API code that'll allow them to talk back and forth to each other on the back end.
okay.
Then I can tell it which one I want it to interact with. So there are people out there now, when it first came out, when AI first came out, as it first kind of hit the scene in November of last year, the big thing was like, here's 1,000 prompts for $19, right? And it was kind of the young kids like, wow, I have no experience in this industry, but I can sure get ChatGPT to tell me how to write 1,000 prompts that are good for ChatGPT and sell it to you for $17. And they make $10,000. They're like, whoo, let me go on to the next industry. And they knew Facebook marketing, so they knew how to run the ads and churn and burn and make some money. That's kind of over because, like, first of all, no one's using those problems. Second of all, you have to go deeper to actually be good at your job. So now instead of becoming a prompt engineer, though, you can say, hey, I want to write a direct response email, and you can pick a framework, and I want it to be medium. I want it the style, and you just click, oh yeah, friendly, engaging, and professional.
So I don't understand what the difference is between what is it, SAA?
Oh, that's SaaS EG. That's a services a solution. What's SaaS stand for? Somebody can
Software as
a service. Thank you. I've been speaking for too long. So that's a software as a service example. That's not the name of the program.
Okay.
So I apologize if anybody's writing out, who's SaaS EG? SaaS EG, SaaS EG. Oh, AI. What? No, that's just the title of that. But so I put in all of this, it kicks it out formatted there, and then on the right, when I kick it over, I can kick it out and it's already formatted for Google, for Word, for whatever I want it to be. It's already got the headlines, it's got the subheaders, it has italics all put in, and I can edit it right there. I can edit one word, I can edit a sentence, I can say highlight these 2 sentences, right-click, regenerate. I don't have to regenerate the whole thing, which I liked. And if you tell AI to rewrite it, it'll rewrite the whole letter. I just want to rewrite these 2 sentences that don't sound like me, or I want to replace these 2 sentences. And so instead of putting in like this, you saw that one protocol, it was like this long and fine print, like I replaced 39 steps. At least half of those now will be, if you're just doing communication or marketing, can be replaced with just click button memes. Doop, 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 doop. And if you're a marketing agency, you don't have to tell your client you're using this. You can just say, why don't I do this for you? It's going to cost $997, and I'm going to go to lunch because I can do this in 10 minutes after lunch, and I get some time back, and I can serve more clients and increase my income because you're doing things better, faster, cheaper. You're compressing those cognitive steps. So these interfaces, you're going to start seeing more and more, and there's going to be some hype pricing on them at first. It's $5,000, $900, whatever. It's new. Wait for the hype cycle and the hype pricing to go down and kind of buy them when they're $65 a month or something like that. But doing a software like this replaces your need to become a prompt engineer. But until you find this, or until it applies to your industry, and people are writing them for different industries, for different markets, for different solutions, these interfaces are by probably in 2024 going to replace all the prompt engineering you're doing now. Unless you're trying to go deep on protocols and programs and write your own stuff. But for basic day-to-day communication, these work really, really well. Oh, last thing. Sorry, this one's kind of cool. So if you're ever trying to teach people, oh, that one's kind of funny. So this is not very good, but this website was created in 65 seconds. I gave it 2 sentences, and it spit out, and there are different programs that will do it differently. Guide, though, is kind of fun, GUIDDE.com. If you're ever trying to explain how to do something more than once, if you have to tell someone, if you have to do something more than once, delegate it, right? So, but how do you explain to someone what you just did? If you're going to become a master at it, then pass it off to an executive assistant, pass it off to a marketing assistant, social media manager, a brewmaster that is going to come to work for you. If you have to do it online more than once, you can go to something like Guide, and I don't make any money off of these, but it'll say create a guide. And every time you click, it'll show you what you clicked on, it'll highlight it, it'll put an arrow, it'll give it some captions based off of what it read off the web page, and it'll create a video guide, it'll create a playbook. You can go in there and delete sections really, really easily where you screwed up, you can pause it, jump around, and then all of a sudden, boom, you have a guide as to how to do this process. Whether it's, you want to tell a transaction coordinator, how do you put in a listing? Do it once. Now you have a protocol for it. You can delegate that. If you want to, if you're writing letters to somebody, or if you do anything you do routinely, and you do it online, Guide's a fun one for that. But that's all AI, right? Because AI is in the background, reading the web page, hearing your clicks, inserting all the bolds and arrows and stuff like that. So I didn't edit these. Where's one I did? Just to give you an example of what this looks like. Well, that might take a while. So anyway, internet being what internet is. That's it for the sort of the formal presentation. Hope you got something out of that for home or at work. Makes your home life a little bit easier, better, faster, cheaper. Not cheaper for home. But, you know, or makes it a little more fun and enjoyable, gives you more freedom on a weekend. I know for me, I know what Pumpkin Festival I'm hitting on Sunday, you know, and I know where my next trip's going to be. And, you know, I don't have to hire a travel agent because I've got AI, right? But at work, it's made so many things more possible. I can create lead magnets, videos, organic content, web pages. I can then outsource that stuff, or I can do it for other people. Right? I've done with you programs, I've done for you programs. Because some people watch this and they're like, well, that was sweet. Right? I'd love to do that. So they say, well, let me sit down with you. Let me sit down with you every week. Let me sit down with you every month, whatever the cadence might be. Let's get you trained up on this, and then let's teach you how to get to the, yeah, this isn't going to happen. So let's teach you how to, let's teach you how to get to the next level in your job. Let's teach you how to do your job better, faster, cheaper, so that you are not replaced by somebody who knows how to use AI. You're someone in your job who protecting the security and the data of your company, the privacy of your clients and your customers, are using it to be more creative and effective in reaching people that need your services because you are the best at what you do, and people need to hear about you, but there's so much noise out there that you need to cut through it with directed communication, effective communication that actually achieves your objectives of making more personal relationships that lead to more clients that ultimately lead to better results for them so they pay you money and you can feed your family.